What really prevents downtime and costly accidents across multiple sites when it comes to oil and gas industry?
Thank you, Baha. And I guess this is one of the very hot topics in the oil and gas industry because downtime in oil and gas industry, based on my experience, is one of the heaviest factor and one of a very critical factor when it comes to halting the operations, or you say in other words, downtime, because it costs a lot of financial disruptions as well, and plus a lot of time as well. So all oil and gas operations are very timely, and a lot of companies are working over there. And downtime means that in oil and gas industry, that all the operations, including all the service companies which are performing over there,
Mm,
will have to stop their work.
yeah.
And it's not like just downtime on one system, but it's a complete operational downtime. So that is a quite expensive downtime when we comes to uh, oil and gas industry. Well, what prevents it and what causes it? I have seen that there are, of course, natural disasters, one of the things which is completely out of our control. And this is something
Right.
that we put everything on the side, and always a room for such kind of natural issues. There are blowouts, there are issues with the sand, there are issues with the ground formation, and but we don't talk about it because it's something coming from the nature. Nobody has control of it. Let's When something that is in control of us when it comes to oil and gas industry is basically proper maintenance records of all the equipments, proper inventory of all the equipments which are available, proper stocking of all the equipments that will be required for the drilling operations. So these few things combines to make a proper operational smoothness or operational efficiency and preventing eventual downtimes. As soon as you have all this preventive maintenance, management of equipments done properly, and of course safety equipments management done properly, then of course we can avoid all the downtimes as much as possible, right? Of course, there are definitely no zero downtimes, but their always approach is to maximize the operational efficiency and have a zero
Yeah.
downtime for the drilling
Zero
operations. Yes.
downtime. So improve on the in the uptime for the sites.
Improve the uptime. Yeah, yeah.
And Hamoud, how that
Continuity of
complicated?
operations. Yeah.
How that gets really more complicated when we talk about like even onshore or offshore, because all of these sites are remote sites, right? So the logistics, the
Yeah.
supply chain is quite challenging for these sites, right?
Very,
So,
very challenging. Yes. Very, very
so,
challenging. Yeah,
so
yeah, go ahead.
this risk, like what would prevent this risk of happening? Shortage of inventory and what kind of other risks that could cause these downtime, and what would be the best way to prevent this?
Yes, so I would say the best way, let's talk about the best way later, but the challenging part is definitely the inventory management, preventive maintenance of the equipments that are available at the rig site, because there are always a set of multiple equipments kept on the rig site as a primary backup and secondary backup equipments. But eventually, the purpose of having backup and secondary backup equipments will be lost if they are not maintained properly. Imagine you
Right.
are running a primary tool and you try to use the a pipe which is on the secondary or the backup, and the pipe has a irregular thread, means it's not usable. So you have equipments that is sitting at the rig site as a backup, and you are paying for it, and eventually you realize it's not maintained or it's not tested properly.
Hmm.
Then the whole purpose of having all those backup and secondary backups on the rig site is lost. So I guess one of the preventive maintenance, as part of the preventive maintenance, all the equipments needs to be tested and their records needs to be updated. How this is done? I mean, in old ages, there are journals where people go, a company man or a tool pusher. There are multiple equipments. I will not go in the details about what are the equipments used on the rig side, but just for example, there are drill pipes. This is one of the most uh, heavily used equipments at the rig site. Drill pipes are, it's kind of 100-foot pipe that is being
Hmm.
drilled, and every 100 feet they will attach a new pipe, and these are the
Right.
drill bit. And then there are stabilizers, every drill pipe will be equipped with a stabilizer that avoids the shaking of the pipe in
That's
the
true. The whole.
borehole, in the ground, in the hole.
Yeah.
So there are multiple equipments like this. There are bits as well. There are tools as well. There are
You know,
clamps for each
the
pipe.
mixer, the cement
The
mixer,
mix,
which
the
will be
cement
used
mixer.
to
There are chemicals. There are muds. There are all sorts of equipments. There are cleaning equipments at the rig site as well. So all these equipments works in like kind of a pieces of puzzle. And all these equipments, even if one piece of the puzzle is missing, the puzzle is not complete. So same thing for drilling operation. Even if one chemical, small chemical, let's say some kind of salt is being used in the drilling fluid or in the cement,
yeah, yeah.
some sand, if that is missing, the whole operation can be stopped, right?
And
And
what happened? What happened if you stop really the processing or the process? Let's say you are in the midday of drilling,
yeah,
and for a reason or another, something got broke down. So what happens for what you have drilled already, or let's say you were using ready mix and the concrete? If you wait one day without executing activities, what happens in that? Like you may
yeah,
have to
that is,
rework
yeah,
everything
yeah.
again,
Yeah,
or you
yeah.
have
So
to break and start
that is
again.
the challenge, because there is a lot of pressure in the formation. And if you don't maintain that pressure, all the formation is gonna come off on the top. So you will have to keep running the pressure into there is a fluid. They will keep pumping the fluid in the formation to maintain the formation pressure,
I
because there
see.
is pressure coming from the if you give some space, if you give hollow space to the formation, it will start throwing away the fluids. If there are fluids in the formation, there could be water, there could be mud, there could be gases, there could be anything. So if you leave some empty space, things will come out of the ground. So it's very
I see.
important to keep running this, and this will
Mm,
cost a lot of money for them as well. So
a lot of money.
if you're not doing anything productive, it is something like this. You are running your car engine without moving the car. You're just burning
I
your
see.
fuel in a
Burning fuel.
steady mode, but you're not making any progress. You're not
I,
driving the car. It's
yeah,
just start engine. Yeah.
and that breakdown would really cost like a lot, because it's not about the breakdown maintenance cost to fix that
Yeah.
problem. It could be the consequences of that breakdown, right?
Consequences, yes, yes, yes.
I
So
see. That's very
if
interesting.
there is a failure in between a drilling operation, all sorts of issues can happen, and the worst can, like, there could be blowouts, and the pressure can come on top and the whole rig. So in certain situations, I have seen, if there are failures, they will shut down the well, and they will discard all the progress that have been done until the issues
Wow.
are fixed. Then they will have to start from the zero. They will
They have to
cement
start
the
one more time.
yeah, yeah, they will cement the well. Actually, they will put all the cement and they will close the well. So there are big challenges, and there are situations where it can cost a lot of progress loss. And well, there are situations as well where if they are doing a small maintenance, the operations can be resumed after 12 hours or 24 hours, and
I
they will
see.
continue to run the engines. They will continue to pump the mud, actually, just to maintain the pressure over there. But yeah, again, the whole loss of the operations in all these equipments and all the service companies which are running on the rig side are being paid on daily basis. So every day
Daily.
cost piles up, and let's say a well is planned for drilling for 10 days. There is a budget approved for those 10 days, and imagine there is another 2 3 days delay comes in, and this 3 days cost add up for the
Add
whole
up to
whole operations, not just one failure. Just for every single company which is working on the rig side will be paid for additional day, right?
additional
So
days. Yeah.
additional days, yeah. So this is a challenge actually for all the oil and gas operations, definitely, yeah.
So basically, this will help us also if we properly do preventive maintenance and predictive maintenance. Will help us
Hmm.
reduce the hidden cost. And this is one another question which we have about the hidden cost, which is the non-productive hours, non-productive days.
Non-productive, yeah,
Because the
yeah,
non-productive
non-productive,
days cost you money, right? I know
a
for
lot
a
of money,
fact
yeah.
that some of the oil and gas companies, their daily cost goes up to like about 200, $300,000, the daily
Easily,
cost
easily, yeah,
in the rig,
easily,
right? And
on
if
the
you
rig, yeah.
lose like about 3 to 4 days, then we speak about above $1 million of
Above $1 million, yeah.
lost non-productive days.
Non-productive days, non-productive
That's
hours. So
that's
that,
very
yeah,
that's
every
very
hour
interesting.
actually counts over there. Every hour is basically counted as a downtime. Eventually, because every hour will be like even $50,000 per hour actually. Sometimes it costs up to like 50,000 or $60,000 per hour because you are paying for the tools which are not being used at that time just because
That's
there
true.
is operational failure. But you are on point, very right, that preventive maintenance, proper tracking of these informations, and proper facility management that comes as equipment tracking, equipment inventory tracking, all these things will prevent such kind of downtime and failures. As long as everything is systematic, recorded in a centralized database or centralized software or an application that records inventory, that records maintenance, that records testing of the equipments at the rig site. All this will definitely help in looking ahead for a smooth operations
I
for the
see.
drilling. Yes.
I see. So, and these basically can form easily hidden costs if they don't happen. As you just said, like
Yeah.
testing an equipment ahead of time, it means like you've been a proactive. So when you are using this equipment as a spare, even equipment, secondary equipment,
Yeah.
then when you need it, you find it to avoid like to reduce the downtime. But if the secondary equipment is not even being maintained and it fails again, then what is going to happen, right? So
What is going to happen? Yeah.
this can also go as part of the hidden cost, as well as the labor cost and the human
Labor cost. Yeah.
resources cost on the sites, and the
Yes.
subcontractor cost
Subcontractor.
where
And I guess one of the things I have been on the rig sites, and based on my experience, all the rig sites they don't have the visibility of these equipments, so because they are kept in the storage, and as long as you don't have some record of this information where they are kept, and if they are actually on the site or they are not on the site. So
Mhm.
this kind of information is very important because you cannot always go and look for, hey, do I have an extra stabilizer? How many extra stabilizer are there? You cannot have on this manual workflows on daily basis. So it's very important if there are a proper inventory management of what equipments are available on the rig site, and the visibility, digital visibility of all these assets into one single place, that will help to save a lot of survey time. A lot of operational efficiency can be increased because nobody will have to do a full survey every day, just go and count the equipments, just go and count the number of chemical bags or salt bags that are available at the rig site. But as long as everything is available into your system, a centralized system, then it will make the work more easy, efficient, more systematic, right?
I see,
And
I see.
I guess this is the biggest hidden cost behind everything, and that will help a lot, and one of the major factor that can prevent all this kind of downtimes, especially on the rig sites. Yeah.
Very clear, Hamoud. And Hamoud, what about the non-operational equipments? Like, for instance, if we are talking about the mobile clinics which we have in the sites regarding safety, regarding the medical records, regarding these ones, there are multiple equipments over there and devices that also needs to be up to date, right? And needs to be
Yeah.
also available. Like when you need it, it's available because this is like avoiding injury, avoiding any kind of hazard or any kind of like could be a medical emergencies, right?
Oh, yeah. So the rig site is equipped with multiple safety devices, including sensors, first aid kits, hazardous kits, and medical kits, and cameras, and all the other safety sensors, which are not like just fire alarms, but even H2S and so many things. And
Yeah,
there are some deadly gases which are available on the rig site. And if those can cost a serious life-threatening issues, if those equipments are not being maintained,
not
especially
maintained.
for the fact I know that H2S is a very
Yeah.
poisonous gas available on the rig
Poisoning gas.
side. Yeah, it's a poisoning, and it can cause fatality within seconds if it is not detected
Hmm.
properly on time. So
Very
those kind of
nice.
equipments needs to be maintained and calibrated, and their maintenance needs to be done eventually. And if those are recorded in a single platform, then I would suggest this will have a lot of benefits overall by tracking this into different with the different service companies, because all these equipments are coming from different service companies and
Sure.
different vendors at the rig side. But having this in one place and making sure everything is maintained, and then you have a proper track record of when this vendor has to calibrate all these sensors and when this maintenance is due before time, you can arrange all those kind of things. That would be an amazing integration of efficient workflow.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And we see that InfraSpeak basically comes into the picture and can help organizations
Oh, yes, yes,
work out and execute preventive maintenance, predictive maintenance as well, right? And
definitely. Yeah.
will be able to help out in this, right? Because there are
Yes,
multiple
yes, yes.
features within the applications can help out in this, right?
Exactly. And I guess one of the things which I have noticed when I go and see the facility management platform of InfraSpeak, or itself as an InfraSpeak platform, the paperless and the paper overload workflows that have been reduced greatly by InfraSpeak in place. And this is something that we really need to push into the oil and gas industry without any, like offense to the industry. We are still very outdated in terms of utilizing the applications and
Right.
digitalization and the rig side, because rig side itself is a small organization. It works as a complete isolated infrastructure, and pushing this kind of solution or digitalization at the rig side on its own, it's very difficult, because
Very difficult,
maybe
right?
on back offices or the corporate companies, they are well in advance, but they don't bring or push down this technology through all the channels or all the rigs, individual rigs as well. But I feel like there is a big need of reducing all this paper workflows and paper overloads at the rig side.
Very interesting, Hamoud. And you also believe that part of the maintenance that can happen aside of the equipment is the facility management as well, because there is no rig without facility being attached to it, right? From camp perspective, from worker camp, from offices, from workspace, right? Either it's onshore or offshore. Obviously, like the onshore will be always bigger facilities
Hmm,
than the offshore, but that also should work. That also should work. Like
definitely.
if you want to
Definitely,
open
yeah.
your bed and you are flipping your bed to sleep on it in the offshore in your room,
Yeah.
it should work, right? It should work.
Yeah, yeah,
Otherwise, what's
definitely,
going to happen?
definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a big facility, and even small, let's say, leakages in the room can cause serious issues, because all these rig cabins, which are close to the operational activities, are pressurized cabins, and all this, everything needs to be maintained. Everything needs to be checked. Actually, starting from the bed to the doors of the cabins, everything needs to be working in uh, a proper
In
way.
a
Otherwise, it
proper
can
way.
cause serious damages and serious incidents,
Indeed,
basically. Yeah.
indeed. I will be talking about mining. So, for
Hmm.
example, if we talk about the AI, the relationship of InfraSpeak with oil and gas, like the gear AI automation. Now, we know in oil and gas, everybody, when they go for rotation, they work almost 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
And obviously people, they don't have time to submit document to someone and to say wait for his approval and then they wait a couple of days for it, right? Because that
Hmm.
24 hour is being counted as a productive hours, right? And people, they get
Definitely.
double paid for it, and they have to sleep and live in the site, so there's no much time or much room for waiting on a transactional procedure or wait on a bureaucracy or whatever. So
Reporting,
automation,
submission of reports, creating manual reports. Yeah, definitely.
100%. So
Yeah.
basically, getting an automation tool to remove any kind of repetitive workflows or any kind of like, activities or paperwork that needs to happen, and filling up, for example, the checklist, and preparing, for example, permits expiration.
Mhm.
There is no time actually to go through these hassles, right? And from
Definitely,
administration and
definitely. Yeah.
operation perspective, the AI automation would really add a significant value for that. Am I right?
Definitely, you are right. And one of the best things I like about AI in general nowadays is that it is aiding the work that is being done by the staff, and it's not meant to be replacing the people, but it is putting a second eye, or you can say a aid on top of
I see.
what workflows are being performed by the people. And I feel like, especially on these rig sites where people are working on their only, a single person is working on the shift, and there is no big offices where they can verify their work that has been done. The AI comes into a place in a very perfect timings that it can help those people to verify what they are doing, or even do the work for them. And those guys
Yeah.
who are engineers, they spend time in verifying the information rather than creating those information and building those information and save their time rather than building and adding this information. They use this time more efficiently to verify this information, and the work can be done by AI over there, right? The reports generated by AI can be easily verified by the engineers, which are HSC engineers or drilling engineers who are sitting on their shifts. And I've seen that all these people are struggling because they are just one person in the shift, and it takes him time to prepare this report, and then he will have to review this report by himself. Yeah.
Oh my God. So basically, when we have suggestions from AI and automation and alerts about things that may happen and giving them insights, so this is cutting a lot of time of reports preparation. And obviously, with a predictive maintenance capability, then you are thinking ahead, right? You are like looking ahead, or you have a forward looking of what could happen, what may not, what may happen, and reduces all the efforts, as well as
Yeah.
having some health score about any kind of flags or risks around. That would
Oh,
help a
yeah, yeah,
lot.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
this is very, very
if
interesting.
yeah, being a human, I can make a lot of errors by skipping
Oh,
some flags, and yeah, yeah, why not? I mean, I know even AI can make flags, but when we work together with AI, there is a chance of improving a lot of efficiency, right? I don't say AI could be perfect, but again, having two things verifying one thing is better than just one person working
100%.
tiredly throughout the 12-hour shift. Yeah.
100%. Actually, you are absolutely right. It's a very, very smart, and it's the right thing to do, to be frank.
Yeah.
That's very interesting, Hamud. That's really very interesting. Actually, I'm trying just to simplify the life. I'm pulling like a small kind of like image that can really be that can be a useful thing for us in this conversation. I'm gonna just do one thing here, and I'm gonna just quickly explain some on the of the activities that can also impact the activities that can be done within a mining site, right? A mining site, which is also another significant challenge for people.
Mhm.
So mining, when it starts,
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
it looks at the exploration side of it, right? In the exploration, it is pretty much like the exploration in oil and gas, right? So you do have a lot of equipments that is like drilling equipments. You need to change a lot of spares within these equipments because you are, basically what you are doing, you are drilling in hard rocks, right? That's pretty much what happens. The
Mhm.
diamond or whatever the type of that head, the drilling head always get broke, and you need always something to work it out, right? So these in itself is very important, because when you do drilling and exploration, you don't explore in the downtown, right? You explore in a very remote areas. So looking at the spare parts, looking at what could happen, and stocking up for the critical elements and the critical spares, that would be really significant. Now, that is happening within the exploration side of it. When we talk about
Mm.
the mining activities, usually the mining companies, there is kind of like a specific metric measure. This truck, which is the hauling trucks, or the dump truck, as this one, big ones, Cat
Mm.
777 or whatever 777, they actually cost you about a $75 per BCM, bank cubic meter. And
Oh.
each time the excavator, basically, the explosives is being applied, and they start just like collecting the dirt and the rocks which has been collected, and they dump it inside the dump truck. The trip of the dump truck itself will take a little time to till they dump it either in the waste dam, or the waste pile, or
Mm.
they send it directly to the crusher, or they will just put it on the stockpile to be processed in a later stage. Now, if each cubic meter or bank cubic meter costs you about $75, then we are
Mm.
talking about every time the excavators dump something inside this, it costs you quite a lot, quite a lot.
Definitely, yeah.
Now, if you are talking about gold mining, or if you're talking about any kind of other precious metal or minerals generally, the cost of mining is the highest cost. It's 60-70% of your operational cost is happening within
Operations.
mining. Processing
Oh.
will obviously follow, and it will also be high. But if you look at the mining in terms of equipments, like the
Mm-hmm.
dump trucks consumes almost a daily about 2,000 liter of diesel, which is significant if you have any kind of like over usage of diesel, as a trucks or excavators or diggers or whatever the equipments or heavy equipments you are using. So maintaining these heavy equipment is quite significant. Tires changes and replacing them, and any downtime for any of these equipments, you can imagine how much it would cost in terms of lost production and lost productivity.
Loss production. Yeah,
And
yeah.
lost production here does not stop by the productivity of the equipment itself, or the dump truck, or the excavator, or whatever the equipment, heavy equipment you have. It is a productivity loss or production losses at the end results, right? At the
And
end
the end
results.
results.
And that is where,
Yeah.
where it gets like a very complicated and has a bigger impact. So there are a lot of hidden costs around not performing, like on predictive maintenance, or proactive, or being proactive while you are maintaining your heavy equipment, because it does not only impact your equipment alone, and it costs you a lot,
Mm.
especially again, you are working in remote areas. Getting one spare overseas sometimes gets complicated, right? And mining
Mm.
industries, either they are operating in Australia or South Africa or in East or West Africa, most of these spares would be coming up from abroad. And to ship, for instance, a spare from China or Europe to Africa, it's
Yeah.
going to take you about like 40 days. It cannot be happening within the same day. Even if you find local suppliers of the spares, it would even take minimum 1 or 2 days to deliver the spares. So
Deliver the
managing spare
space.
parts and looking and have a forward looking for the maintenance would be very important, and would be even cost
Okay.
saving. You put money upfront now, but you are saving for future, and that is where
Mm.
the maintenance would really help. And obviously, as you know, mining industry is a labor intensive industry, where you're going to always have thousands of employees who will be working around. Most of the time, these are remote locations. So you're going to be maintaining a huge facility between
Facility.
a mine village, clinics, restaurants, prayer rooms, and holy places. Also, you build within these sites, where
Oh,
people
wow.
also they need to have that maintenance. Along with this, the power generations happen by
Mm.
solar, by diesel, and you have a power plants that power up
Right.
the entire operation, as well as the facility. And the facility
Mm.
management, including roads, including infrastructure, which you build for to make it a livable place, right? Because people they need to live there for a while, and usually they go for 2 months rotation. if especially if it is a very remote site. And
Hmm.
if we look at also the mining activities itself, there are quite multiple other kind of like heavy equipments being used, like bulldozers, like loaders, and so on and so forth. And that is where you need to be able to maintain all of these equipments from exploration to the mining itself. And getting into the plant itself, or getting into the processing of the plant, here there is an image. I just want to share that image, and it is significant. It's also significant thing because it goes beyond what people imagination. There is quite a lot of equipments, as you may see here in this photo. There is
Wow.
quite a
Okay.
lot a lot
Interesting. Very
of
interesting. Yeah.
equipments and stages within the processing itself. And when you start processing, let's say you want to process after they dump in the crusher, or after they dump in the primary crusher. The primary crusher,
Hmm.
as you know, it's crushing stones, and sometimes it's hard stones, right? Sometimes hard rocks,
Hard stones. Yeah.
and it takes quite a lot of, like, spare parts, which needs to be, well, some of the equipment will be consumed, or some of the spares or parts of the equipment will be consumed while you are crushing, right? So
True.
conveyor
Yes.
belts and the way how these um, dirts, or the rocks, will be moving around using conveyor belts all the time, right? Conveyor belts pumps, you pump it from one stage to another stage, or you use conveyor belts or whatever. All of these bearings and all of that spares needs to be maintained. And frankly, without a proper maintenance plan, supply chain, they cannot plan this, because again, the lead time for shipping and supplying these would be always
Varies.
significant, very, very
Yeah.
high, very, very high.
So it feels like there is a well ahead plan or forecast needs to be in place. A very
100%.
systematic inventory management system needs to be in place well before starting all these operations. Otherwise,
100%.
you end up waiting for spares and equipments, and you're doing nothing, and the whole productivity of the operations is lost, right?
100%. And if you miss, for example, any of these, there is also downtime happens every year to maintain, to do
Hmm.
the annual maintenance. If you miss spares, or if you miss something, your downtime, the planned downtime actually would be even extended. And
Extended,
every
yeah.
day of losses, or every hour of losses, if you are, let's say, producing gold, and you see the prices of gold nowadays, if you
Yeah.
lost productivity or production, it reduces obviously the number of ounces you are producing. And think about the significant price of gold, how much is
The
going to
price,
impact,
yeah.
how
I
much is
mean,
going to impact.
you don't want to delay, you don't want to miss the sweet spot of the
100%.
good price, and things
100%.
can change anytime. And then by the time you have your product ready, your prices have gone down. So you don't want to
Price
be in
gone
that
down.
kind of situation as well.
100%. And as you can
How's the
see here, Hamoud,
safety? Yeah, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, yeah. You ask about the safety. Yes,
Yeah, I'm,
there's a
yeah.
huge amount of procedures and permits which will allow specific types of people, specific types of engineers, maintenance engineers. If there's a problem in the crusher, for example, is not everybody can
Hmm.
maintain that. So you have a skill
Yeah,
set, you have also permits, and you've got the HSE, or the safety training or certificates that the team they have to maintain in order to
yeah.
perform this kind of like heavy duty jobs, right? So
Yes, yes, yes.
on top of that, on top of that, you see all these equipments that if any one of them stops, you stop the entire processing line. It's like the mill. The mill is
The
one of the
mill,
most
yeah.
important.
It's the
uh,
same thing that you cannot run anything individually. Everything is connected. A
100%.
small incident or safety incident, you have to shut down the whole operations. It's a big risk
100%.
to, yeah. Well,
100%.
very similar industry, and I feel like there is, of course, I can
Huge
see
similarity.
this, yeah, huge similarity, and I can see of course, the equipments or machinery used over here is definitely more complex, and the
100%.
facility, considering the number of people and the volume of the operation, or you can say the size of the operation is definitely bigger compared to the drilling operation. But yeah, at the bottom line, they are still doing a very similar workflow. And as critical as it sounds, definitely it is important to have the operational efficiency. At the same time, avoiding downtime is fairly equally important for both the operations. Yeah.
100%, 100%. And if you, for instance, miss the screening, now the screenings, there are screening plates, right? That kind
Yeah.
of like rotate and shake a little bit, so it will remove the
Shakers.
particles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the shaker, it will put the particles and send some of the particles to milling, or some of it will go back to a secondary crushing one more time, right? Now
Yeah.
imagine you have problem with that machine. Imagine you have a problem with that machine. What is going to happen? You are wasting your time as well as resources, as well as
As
you are reconsuming again and again because of a mistake happens in the screening. Yeah.
screening. Yeah.
If the screening has some mistakes in its results, or what wasn't properly maintained, it will increase your milling activities. And the milling activities here, there are consumables related to it, right? Aside of
Hmm.
water, they put steel balls. And the steel balls is meant to be used to crush more and more, right? And all of this, if you think about it, if also this pass from the different silos, from the different pumps, now you are pumping like, more, let's say the milling is not doing um, as expecting. All of your pumps, it has a time span, right?
Yeah.
And if you are pumping things which is not supposed to be pumped in, then your pumps would have a big problem. And all of this
Big
production
problem.
line needs to be maintained and monitored on a daily basis for sure. All of the activities, as you can see it, it is really a big situation where one of these work centers or one of these equipments within this production line caused failure, or it was not maintained in a proper way. It will cost you more than only the downtime. It will cost you the subsequent operation cost, additional cost of it.
Cost.
Because when
Yeah.
you budget assuming the mill is going to be milling specific
Operational.
particulars of these hard rocks. If the particulars, for example, pass from the screening with a bigger size, you need to add more
Hmm.
steel balls. Then the milling process will cost you more than what is being budgeted for, right?
More than. Yes. Totally
And
agree.
it will
Yeah.
take more time. And it will take more time. So these are a lot of hidden costs that could happen if you miss maintenance and if you don't
Hmm.
really work it out. On top of all of this, you need to look at, as we said here, this is a heavy labor industries where you need to define a lot of
Agree. Yeah.
you're going to have a lot of employees, and you're going to be looking at their accommodation, their education, their health as well.
Have.
So you
And
have
they will be
quite a
paid
lot of,
regardless. They will
they
be
will be
paid
paid
regardless.
regardless.
Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. So maintaining facility, maintaining the plant, maintaining the infrastructure that takes people from the village to the place is quite key. If you have a broken
Key.
road, the dump trucks, they cannot move. Dump trucks are super heavy trucks. If there's a broken road, if there's some sliding rocks, for
Hmm.
example, falling down from a mountain blocking the road, you can
Yeah.
imagine how big is that when you lose the productivity from
Productivity.
mining
Yeah.
to the operation and to the
To,
processing. And
to the
all of this
processing. Yeah.
is money that you have to pay, and you know it's a timesheet concept, right? There's a lot of daily costs, daily salaries that would impact the business and would definitely causes a lot of losses. So downtime cost, it's significantly high, and sometimes it's worth it. We advise all of our clients that have this digitized, have a little bit of uh, predictive and proactive maintenance approach is way better. There's an ISO standard actually. They say prevention over inspection, right? Prevention over
Yeah.
inspection. So to prevent the things to happen is better than going and inspect it if it is working or not. So even the
Yeah.
testing itself would have been kind of avoided if you were doing the right prevention in the first place.
Right
And
prevention. Yeah.
and this is where we see the InfraSpeak would come to the picture with its capabilities of spare parts monitoring of the spares or the equipments, the planned maintenance, the scheduled maintenance, doing that in a proper time and preparation of what is the skill set is needed, because not every work center here has the same people can work on it, right? You're speaking about mechanical parts, you're speaking about hydraulic parts, you're speaking about um, physical parts that needs different kind of skill set. And on top of
Hmm.
all of this, you are powering this by electricity, right? Electricity and remote sites. Again, talking about non-grid or off the grid
Diesel or something.
of
Yeah.
the grid site, right? Of the grid site. So you
Yeah.
speak about diesel being consumed to produce the energy or the power using the generators and then distributing that. Maintaining the grid internally, which it is your own grid, is also another important aspect. You know, a small fiber internet cut can reduce your productivity easily here.
Hmm.
So all of these maintenance and checklist and preparation, it needed really a good tool to help you plan, design the execution, and execute according to these plans and update these systems. Because you can also generate reports for some lessons learned and other kind of challenges you may had. So all of these can be counted on how we can reduce these downtime. And there's quite a lot of infinite number of issues that could happen in a mining site, but these are like the simple reasons or simple items in a way or another.
I feel like one thing that out of all this, I what I can extract is basically that putting a software, let's say an InfoSpeak software, which can help you or maintain all these downtimes and inventory management in a more centralized in a digital way, and it's a totally worth, because even if you are able to save or increase a bit of productivity, save the productivity of your operations, of course there could be issues that are unpreventable, but certain issues which can be prevented just because of even one incident, that can be prevented just because you were using a proper application in place, a proper inventory management system in place, that means your whole cost is covered. And it's a totally worth to have such kind of applications and softwares in place.
That's true. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. And by this, Hamoud, I think we kind of like conclude or summarize what oil and gas and mining industries and how they can start getting benefit. Now
Definitely,
there
yeah.
is more than this, more than what we just described, but this could be useful content
Useful content, yeah.
for our audiences. But Hamoud, thank you very much again. And
No problem. Thank you, Baha. I guess very well explained, and I'm very
okay, bro. Yeah, thank
perfect.